If you haven't done it yet, go to the last video and you can try and win some Plumes of Hazard e-liquid.
Swinging on and happy, hippie, yeah. Hippie, yeah.
What's up YouTube, welcome back to Whacked Out ECIG and happy Monday. Today I'm reviewing the Snapdragon RDA by Eden Mods and I'm comparing the version 1 to the version 1.5. Now, both of these are authentic, they're both expensive, and for good reason. The quality is amazing and the flavor is amazing. It's by a very popular company called Eden Mods, and they're popular for like the Rose V2 and stuff. Very good company, always known for their flavor for the most part. And before wasting any more of your time, let's go down up close and look at them. Okay, so here we have our two Snapdragons. On the left we have the version 1, and on the right the version 1.5. These are the two main differences. You can see here on the version 1 it came with a lead-free brass 510 pin, and on the version 1.5 it's a stainless steel pin that is actually removable for a bottom feeding pin that came in the box. Well, kind of a box. This is what it came in, like a tubular cardboard kind of thing with Allen key, spare screws, O-rings, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's replaceable with a bottom feeding pin, and then these two screws here are to disassemble basically the deck and the entire thing. Different from what this uses, the version 1, which is threaded, and people had some problems with that, but I'll show you that in a bit. Coming up to the airflow, the rings are designed slightly differently. On the version 1 they're kind of beveled like that, and on the version 1.5 they're like this. It really depends on what your preference is, what you think looks better, but they both function the exact same way. You get 3 2mm airflow slots, and it's available for single coil, which is how it's configured now. And this is one thing, on the version 1.5 I can basically not change the airflow. It takes a lot of pressure, and the way the camera is set up right now, I'm not going to be able to change that around. It's that strong. So on the 1.5, definitely a much smoother tension there. And yeah, that's the single coil and dual coil configuration. So a decent amount of airflow. This is definitely not a cloud chasing atomizer, but there's definitely enough for what this is made for. Both atomizers are 29mm high, 22mm diameter at the base. The top caps are machined exactly the same, and the drip tips are exactly the same as well, both made out of Teflon. So yeah, a nice kind of polished stainless steel, 316 surgical grade stainless steel. So these definitely have a nice weight to them, and they feel quality, and they look just amazing, I find. So with the top caps off, they look exactly the same pretty much, except on the version 1.5, which is in my right hand, you can see the little hole there, and that's for if you have the bottom feeding pin. You can see it's just a flat deck in there on the version 1. I have a pretty interesting build on the version 1.5 in my right hand. Let me focus that for you. This is a dual 26 gauge Clapton wire, and it fits in there well. The only thing is, building a dual coil on either of these is just a bitch, because as you can see on the version 1 there aren't post holes. What they use is a clamp system, and I mean, for single coil there's nothing easier. You just put each wire in, wrap them around, and then screw it down, and it's fine. But for dual coils, it's kind of difficult because there's nothing to hold them in place while you put in the other coil. So yeah, that's definitely a con in my opinion. I mean, once you get used to it, it's not bad, but I definitely think, since these are removable, the posts are removable, I definitely think that they should bring out posts that make it a lot easier to do dual coils for people. The airflow slots that go underneath your coils, they're around 2mm, and down in the actual airflow, not sure if I mentioned this before, these are all 2mm as well. So you get a good set of airflow coming up to each hole, and the deck is between 5 and 7mm is what I got. So it's a pretty decent deck, especially for something so small to have such a deep deck. definitely helps out with flavor and juice capacity and ability to get a good amount of cotton in there if you like a lot of cotton. So yeah, let's talk about the main difference between these two. So this is the version 1, and if I thread this clockwise, you can see that the base comes out. And here are the 2 screws that hold in your posts, and this just sits in there. And that is your kind of your base, airflow, insulator, everything holds in there. And this threads back on anti-clockwise. So it's reverse threaded so that it doesn't unscrew while you're putting it on your mod. But to ensure a good connection and make sure that the ohms aren't jumping, this has to be really cranked down so that you're not getting those connection issues. And that was a problem that a lot of people had. What they did on the version 1.5 is put screws so that it's actually threaded in there and you can't undo it like that. It has to be unscrewed to take it apart. And then the black part that you saw in there, it's now a peak insulator instead, and it's connected to the positive post, so it's just a much better design in the 1.5. Okay, so I cut myself some 26 gauge Canthal, wrapped around a 2.5mm bit, and I'll show you how easy it is to install this into here. So might be easier if I put it on a mod, but this would do the job. So wrap the leads round to where you want them. Right in the center is where you want the coil to be. Just hold it in place like that, pull the leads back, and wrap them around so that they stay in the spot that you want them to be. Roughly, it's not going to be perfect. Now you take the Allen key that was provided and just screw down. Okay, now you can see that the coil's in place there. I can take that out now, and you can kind of see, I'll focus it here for you. They trap under there quite well, and I missed it on this one, so I'll have to come back out and try this one again. So you can see, even with single coil, it's not a perfect system, but it's pretty damn simple with a single coil if you're not doing it on camera. So that's good there, but you can see now I'm tightening this down, and the base is unscrewing because it's reverse threaded, so it's pretty annoying. So anyway, those are locked into place. I can now wiggle these bits. Bit harder with 26 gauge, it's a bit thick, but these hold them down quite well. So there we go. I'll just take my rod again and just make sure it's where I want it to be. Now, the position of the coil is pretty important, depending on how high above that airflow hole you want it to be. I've been liking it about there, about 2 or 3, maybe about 2mm above that hole, so you get enough airflow coming underneath it, but not too much that it messes with the flavor or the temperature of the coil. So yeah, that's okay now. So now I'll just put it onto a mod. This is the Sigeli 75, and I think it looks pretty damn good on there. Get the top cap. The O-rings on the top cap are perfect. I mean, they're pretty strong, so it does take a considerable amount of effort to get them off, but it's not like you're ripping the entire thing off, so it's pretty nice. I think that looks pretty nice, so I'll put some cotton in here and we'll go back up and vape on it. So I have the version 1.5 on this IPV-D2, and first of all, just look at that. I mean, this is small, and so is the IPV, so they just look amazing together, fits in the hand perfectly. I love this dripper. If you're looking for something to blow massive clouds and still get okay flavor, this is not for you. This is for someone who wants something that's going to last them a very long time, that they can try different builds in, and that they'll get amazing flavor and honestly a good amount of vapor. I mean, this is not going to blow massive clouds, this is not velocity, this is not a twisted messes. This is by Eden Mods, this is for flavor, but I mean the vapor is decent. For me, I don't need any more vapor than that. That is plenty. On the single coil in the version 1, it's a 0.8 ohm coil, and at 20 watts I'm getting enough vapor as well. But the vapor is not a talking point for this. The talking point is the flavor. Now, I've said before that you get good flavor off of different things, and every time it's relative. So the velocity for something that gives you that much airflow and something you're building that crazy of a coil with, yes, you do get good flavor, but to compare it with something like this, you can't do it. The flavor on this is just a completely different type of vape. It's not as hot. You're not getting as much airflow. It's a condensed, very flavorful vape. Now, like I said, this is expensive. This is an authentic. It's not made in China. It's around 210 Canadian dollars, and that's from Hazetown Vapes. Link will be in the description. But I have vaped a lot of clones, and I also have a clone of this Snapdragon, the version 1 anyway, and honestly, I was going to do a comparison review between the clone and the authentic. They don't compare. They really don't. You hold the authentic in one hand and the clone in the other, you can feel the weight. I mean, they look similar, but that's because they're designed off the same design. The vape that you get off of the authentic is much better. I mean, you still get good flavor because it has the core design with the clone, but the vape quality on the authentic is much better. You get better flavor in my opinion, and you feel like you're vaping something with substance. Now, I know there will be a lot of you that want a clone of this because you can't afford $200+ on buying an authentic dripper. This is where the discussion comes up. Is it worth the money? Now, I have vaped a lot of clones, I have vaped a lot of authentics, and to compare them, it's very difficult, but if you want something that's going to last a long time, if you're not into vaping for the whole buy every single new thing, I mean, you can do that with authentics, but the price adds up very, very quickly, and if you're not careful, you'll go broke. So, if you have $200 to spend on a dripper that you want to last a long time, that's going to give you good flavor and enough airflow, this is definitely recommended. As far as pros and cons go, the version 1 has cons. The airflow, at least on this one, is just too tight. It's too tight. You have to really squeeze it to get any change in the airflow, and the whole threading of the base was just a dumb design in my opinion. No offense to Eden Mods, but the version 1.5, it's not a complete change up. It's still the same atomizer, but they made those changes that are definitely needed. The airflow is much better. It's smooth, but it's not loose, and the base is screwed in. So if you want to go to the trouble of changing out the posts, changing them around where they face or anything, you can, but it's not going to happen every time you screw on and off your atomizer or when you're screwing in your wires, right? So version 1.5 definitely better, and that's what you can get from Hazetown Vapes. Big thanks to Rowan for making this possible, and that's about it. If you have any questions about these, please leave a question in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. I will see you again very soon.